For assignment 10, we'll be looking at the stylistic codes and conventions of what makes up a genre. We will be looking at 3 films, 2 from the action genre, and lastly, 1 from an entirely different genre. Media products can be classified into categories, and in film or literature, these are known as genre. Genre is recognised by its common set of codes and conventions. When an audience recognise these, they expect certain things. Audiences often select a film on the basis of its genre. Producers then market text according to the genre, and an audience has already previously identified that they take pleasure in that type of film. However, as we will now see, genre is not static. Producers are attempting to change it all the time. This results in a hybrid, or as is more commonly known, subgenres, and they attempt to change codes and conventions again. The first film we will be looking at is the 1997 movie Con Air. The film follows a traditional Hollywood narrative in which B follows A. We have the sense at first of order and calm. This is the equilibrium. Then there will be disruption of this, and we will see through the film's narration how this equilibrium can be affected more than once. The main protagonist realises disruption has occurred and journeys to repair the damage. We will then have a restoration of the equilibrium. In Con Air's case, it is of a linear narrative. Now let's have a look how the codes and conventions are adhered to. First to attempt to try and subvert the action genre is Con Air, a story of an army ranger who on leaving service is jailed after killing a man who pulled a knife on him after taking exception to Cameron and Trisha's show of love. We see here how the use of low-key lighting and hyperrealism are added to the scene. The sounds of the fight are overemphasised to the audience as Foley is injected into the scene. Every punch, chop and kick has been re-emphasised, while a non-diegetic music is added to signify the danger Cameron is in. The lighting is dark and pale with a blue tinge. The sequence is brought together through quick edit cuts to give the audience the sense of the action around them. When a knife is produced, we see a combination of close-ups and mid-shots which finish with a slow-motion shot of the attacker's demise. This signifies the end of the scene for the audience, but also the start of Cameron's journey. The equilibrium has now been disrupted, and the audience will expect disequilibrium to be fixed based on their own previous knowledge of the action genre. What the producers have done here is ask the audience to make a judgment. They are aware Cameron has been a soldier and will consider him normally to be of a high social standing. It is now up to the audience to decide if they feel he's just in his actions. They will come to this by their own personal and previous experiences of life. Cameron is sent to prison, and a montage has been added with non-diegetic off-screen narrating by Cameron and his now growing-up daughter. This is to signify to the audience the passage of time.
She is nice. We go to playtime and we all have to hold hands when we walk there.
Dear Casey, it was so good to read your letter. I'm glad.
The element of crime is now subverted into the genre as we see Cameron act as almost like a double agent working with the police to bring down the movie's antagonists. In the process, anti-realist elements are introduced to the narrative. However, as it is an action film, the audience accepts this and are prepared to see how the character of Cameron reunites with his wife. Many conventions of the genre are present as we see Cameron try to return home. It is the character's main motive of the film and the driving force for the audience to suspend their disbelief. Just as it seems Cameron is about to return home after 7 years in prison, the equilibrium is disrupted further when a plane he was due to have been going home on, called the Jailbird, is taken over. Then we are introduced to the movie's antagonist, Cyrus the Virus Grisham. The audience were introduced to the antagonists of the movie through the use of costuming, audio, dialogue and sequencing. The characters who will hold a lesser part are dressed in blue denim. This includes the main protagonist, Cameron, suggesting to the audience that he is normal and he's just an everyman. The other inmates, who will play a larger role in the narrative, are dressed in orange. When the antagonists are placed on the plane, the camera uses a close-up shot. The lighting is high-key with shadows on the cages, visible on inmates' faces. This further shows that the inmates are caged and plays on the audience's own knowledge and expectations. Many of the audience would think of caged animals and the want to escape. What follows are some conventions of the genre. A meal with a motive, many fights, explosions, and the use of vehicles. Often in the action genre, a dramatic chase will be seen at the end of the film. Audiences are familiar with this, so it is down to the producers to come up with interesting or exciting twists to entertain the audience. Genre, non-diegetic music is injected into the scene and heightens at different parts of the chase. The audience are shown lots of quick camera cuts and long establishing shots. This signifies to the audience the excitement and emergency going on around them. Hyperrealism is added to the scene as the engines roar louder and tires screech loudly. Distinct music for the protagonist and the antagonist. The audience are shown the protagonist who is determined to restore justice while Cyrus seeks to destroy. The audience then get the gratification of seeing the movie's antagonist getting his comeuppance by the film's hero. The equilibrium now restored, Cameron reunites with his family as the film's opening love song plays emphatically.
Happy birthday, darling.
And there the linear narrative ends. When we compare the chase scene from Con Air to another movie from the action crime subgenre, we see how many of the codes and conventions are adhered to. In the 2008 film A Dark Knight, we see the antagonist fleeing, while the protagonist gives chase. Again we see long shots mixed in with quick editing cuts, while hyperrealism is added to the scene. When we compare the action genre to the horror genre, we see that although codes and conventions are used, they are far different to that of the action genre. Sound and backlighting is used to create mystery and suspense. Action films tend to take place in well-populated areas, whereas horror is often set in a secluded place. Whereas in action we have lots of quick camera cuts, in horror we see the camera focuses more on point of view and long shots. The camera moves slower and the audience expect to be scared. In contrast to the action genre, the protagonist spends the majority of the film being the one who is chased, whereas in action the protagonist is fighting for something to win. Often in horror, they fight back after losing everything. The films are often of a linear narrative, and the film finishes after the antagonist is finally beaten. But now, the genre has become so large that the audience have now been conditioned to expect a sequel. In this, the final scene of 1978's Halloween, we see the protagonist backed into a corner, fighting for her life. The non-diegetic music is designed to chill the audience, and as we go to the horror convention of lights being switched off, the protagonist manages to survive the movie, and the audience return to equilibrium.